The thing Eric does is he goes to art openings and art events and documents the actual art world. So like this right here is the art world. Okay, you're in the art world now, whether you know it or not. So so Eric does that too, and then he posts the documentation, the still photos, primarily on Facebook. And which, if you don't have a Facebook account, then you're not in the art world. So so that's of critical importance. That you guys are all enraptured by me as the guest speaker.
Okay,
and
let me just interrupt for 1 minute, because a lot of people here, or a few people here, don't know who you are. So I have to tell you.
I'm just some dude from America.
So I have to tell them that he is a total rebel and totally smart guy. He has a terrific gallery in Chinatown, which I mentioned to you, and he's renowned, as is Eric. So I want you, people will say, how do you get these people? And I got Eric by looking at his web page and seeing the page all filled with photographs of art professionals, little tiny postage stamp photographs. And I'm looking down and I say, gosh, that looks like me. And then I'm looking, it was a, you know, a really nice picture. And then I'm looking, then I saw the earrings. And I said, oh my God, that is me. And then I called him, and that's what I said. So that's how I seduced him to come.
In my opinion, it has the pulse of the LA art scene like no other person, in really every facet.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. I'm Phyllis Lutjeans. And I started working at the Art Institute when I was in my 20s, and I worked at the San Francisco Museum of Art. And then I worked on La Cienega in the 60s for Esther-Robles Gallery and saw all of that thrust of the Ferris Gallery. And then I came to Newport Beach and I worked at the then Newport Harbor Art Museum for almost 14 years as their curator of education and performance art. And then we left the museum for various and sundry reasons, and then 3 people, one of them the curator of collections at the museum, myself, and Victoria Kogan Murphy, an art historian. We opened a gallery on the Noguchi Sculpture Plaza, and we had that gallery for about 3 years, and then that closed, and then I got a job at UCI working at the gallery and taught a class called Museum Problems. I'm 86 years old, and I've just written a novel, and I'm working on it, and it's called The Art World, Love It or Leave It. And it's a balance between the purity of what the art world could be and the corruption and how they're balancing or not balancing.
Before I went to college, I wanted to be Grizzly Adams. So I went to UCI, did biology, but it was all medically oriented. And I stumbled into art as a relief from all these hardcore science classes. And reluctantly, I saw that the art would bring me into the cities. But I learned to like the city, kinda. So I was impressed with all the excess, so I started using the leftovers and trying to rebuild my own objects. After so many years, I feel like I'm kind of going back to the Grizzly Adams personality, and so I spent a lot of time outside making these things, and it seems like I'm heading more and more towards the gardens.
Let me also say something about Willie. He also is the kind of artist that has shown in museums. He had a huge piece at the Laguna Art Museum. He had a big show that he has. He's had galleries. But because of his nature and because of his innate spirit as an artist, he has, it seems to me, put all of that aside. And he works, I mean, my backyard is all Willie's work. These ducks on the wall were all Willie's work. And I feel that, for me, I say, why in the heck don't you have a gallery? Why isn't he in a gallery? Because I think his work is brilliant.
Get a shot of the ducks.
I will. Why isn't he in a gallery?
the first thing you need to get a gallery is a nice ass. So we have to have you stand up. No, okay. All right. Speaking of
Jamie Brooks, emerging gallerist here in Costa Mesa. Had the pleasure of working with Eric in the past. He curated an infamous show for me, which I was very pleased with, and known Matt as well. And
you got some bad press on that show too. I was pretty impressed.
Bad press. It was all good press.
It was good. Was it good press?
Yeah.
Geez, you didn't read the fourth paragraph.
But I'm happy to be here. I haven't known Phyllis for a long time, but I certainly appreciate our friendship.
I just want to say this is the 170th one I've done since 1992, so please don't ask if you can help me in the kitchen.
I moved back from all these other people's houses and living in warehouses, and kind of got sick of not having enough nature around. So when my dad got hit by a car, I moved back home and to help my mom, but also I was really eager to work in the garden and have some land, and started building tree houses and all kinds of stuff in the backyard. It's much fuller than this one. Actually, just before my dad died, I was in a real hurry to finish this tree house, that I had to have it done before he passed, or I might have to grow up and not make the stuff anymore, you know. These are all from paint I have used already. Some of it's purchased, like the wiring that's the support structure. The tree branches all come from the gardening projects that I work on. Almost all of these turn sticks are from this tree here. And I've been with Phyllis since college. It's going on 30 years. And it's been a real joy to work with the plants, because they're changing all the time, where it happens with the artwork, but it kind of goes in stages. I kind of believe there's about 8 stages. Each are presentable, but we're always waiting for the best final stage. But with the living organism, it's like the bindings get too tight, and I got to loosen them so the plant can keep growing. And so I have to really pay attention to how it's changing. And also working outside, the weather elements. Sometimes I'm grateful that the nature takes some of it away, so I have less to work with. It's because it's a little overwhelming to have so much stuff. And then those jars are from, my mom used to work for Knott's Berry Farm, selling the jellies to hotels and stuff, and those are all the jelly jars. At home I have a piece, it's a tree, Christmas. After my dad died, she bought a Christmas tree for the first time, a live one, or recently cut. And it was a symbol of hope I hadn't seen in our family in a long time, and it's hanging up. One of the first joys for me working with the plants is tying them back together. It reminds me of the Egyptians, where they mummified the animals and kind of put them back together before the final passing or whatever. And so tying them using the leaves and tying them as I go, using the leaves themselves as the knots, and it's a real delicate, sensitive gesture. And that's what the Christmas tree, how it was made, tying all the branches back together before it got too brittle. It looks like a giant heart, stained it red. Anyway, I hung all the jelly jars from that. It's really a kind of a pleasure to deal with the neighbors' boundary issues. They don't want plants, so I have to make it strong on my side and accommodate for their needs as well. And oh yeah, those are stovetop burners with a furnace grill between, and that was in the show at Irvine Fine Arts Center. A bunch of turtles. Shells, actually.
This is a brush from a group show that Betty Gold had at Betty Gold Fine Art Studios down on La Cienega. It was a crucifix show. We all made kind of funky crucifixes. George Herms made a crucifix out of birth control pills. Mitch Duggan made a crucifix out of old pillows. I'm trying to wind it up, and that's the gallery where Amy went and first saw La Cienega when La Cienega was the hot spot of Los Angeles.